Hi, I'm Tom, and today I will show you what gamekit are actually mapped in gamekit. Just start Blender and go to the game logic overview. I didn't prepare anything special, just will go on what sensors are working, what controllers are working, and what actuators are working. So let's get started. I would say the easiest one is the always actuator that is working, and yeah, you have all kind of controllers, all are working. You can combine different sensors, and if it's true, everything, then the impulse is sent to the actuator. But I'm not here to tell you how bricks are working. I'm just telling you what is actually mapped. I will write down some links for deeper knowledge of logicbricks under this video. For us, important is the expression controller, which is actually just executing single line commands on the Lua framework. gamekit has as scripting language in difference to the Blender game engine Lua. So for example, to print something out, you can use dprintf let's say ABC, whatever. And if we now start this, first of all we have to save it somewhere. Wait. If we now start this, just have to set the current runtime. Okay, if we now start this, you see ACB. Once, if you have these 3 dots marked, then this impulse is sent on every frame. The whole sensor is true. Since always is always true, it will send an impulse on every frame. Okay, this is the always sensor. Let's go to collision. Collision is actually checking if the object you have this brick on is colliding with something else. So let's say this is our cube, make it a rigid body, and let's create something to collide on the plane. And if we collide, we could say collision. Let's see if this works. Collision. Wonderful. Again, if we want this to fire on every frame, a collision is actually the whole time a collision is there. You can check the 3 dots here on the left side, and you see it is firing on every frame. Okay, now I will go to the first actuator. So now let's go to the motion actuator, which can manipulate the location, the rotation on a normal game object, and if you have a rigid body, you have also force, torque, linear velocity, and angular velocity. And let's say we want, every time we hit the plane, we want to jump. So we have some kind of jumping animation. So we say the Z velocity is 5 on a collision. Okay, yeah, I need an AND controller for this. Yeah, so we see it is jumping on every collision. What is mapped here? Actually, here is everything mapped from the simple motion. Character motion, servo control is not mapped. On the collision, you have also a property field where you can check if the collision or if the object you are colliding with has a certain property set. So, for example, we want that we only fire if we collide with something that has a property, a game property called ground. Well, we have it not at the moment, so if we start now, it should just stay on the ground. So now, if we select the ground, we can add a game object and call it ground. It doesn't matter what kind of type it is. It just needs the property. If we now start, it sees, okay, I have a collider, and the collider is, or the collision partner has a property ground, so fire. Okay, let's go on. Let's see, we have, for example, a keyboard sensor. You can set all kinds of keys. First modifier is working, but we won't use it. Not sure how to unset this. Keyboard. Okay, let's say we want this cube to just jump when it is in air. So we can use this AND controller, and what it says is if keys space is pressed and the collision is also true, then do this jumping motion. Okay, space. You see I'm on the ground and it's only working when I'm on the ground. Target, I'm not sure if this is working, I guess not. Lock toggle, I also don't know. The modifiers do work, I guess. Let's give it a try. I use the left control. Space not working, left control and space now working. Okay, well, it's working. Yeah. Left, Alt and space pressed is doing the job. So the modifiers are working. Lock toggle, I actually don't know what it is. Okay, that's for the keyboard. Let's get rid of this and replace it with mouse sensor. Here you can set all kinds of buttons or mouse over. So let's say, for example, we want to jump when the left mouse button is pressed. Yeah, it's working. I'm pressing the left mouse button. I don't know if you hear it. press. Yeah. You can also say we want that we need to have the mouse cursor on the object itself. So we can create another mouse sensor and say mouse over. I actually don't know what mouse over any is, but let's say mouse over means if the mouse is over the object this brick is on. So you see, I'm pressing the mouse button, nothing works. I move the mouse cursor over the object and press the mouse button and it's working. Good. Let's see, mouse wheel up, down, working, movement is working. So if we now move and press the left mouse button, it's working, but only if we move the mouse. Okay, that's for the mouse brick. We have a near actuator, which is checking if an object is near to this object, and you can set the distance when it should fire, and it reset distance is the distance it should stop firing. So in this case it will start firing if an object is 1 unit away from this object, and resets as soon as it gets more than 2 units away. This is working. Let's see, how can we simulate this? For this I can show you this good on the physics visualization. You see, not working. 1 second please. Okay, the problem was I have just too many different runtimes and all on different states, so I had an old version where the debug output was still deactivated. So if I start, you see the problem is to see the one distance you need to lower the extents of the box. So you see, we'll make it here, the jump a little bit more. So you see there are different, yeah, this is a representation of a sphere actually, but so when it's small, it is in the false mode. So it only fires when you can come to this 1 unit, and if it gets huge, you are still in the true mode, and only if you get 2 units away it gets small again, and the game goes on and on. Yeah, this is near bricket, with which you can also use the property as we already did before with yeah, with what, I don't know, with the collision. There's also a ray component, brick, sensor, whatever, with which you can shoot a ray out of your object. Let's give it a try. Let's say a range of 8 and see what the physics representation is showing us. much. Wait. Okay. Seems you have to the brick to connect it at least with a controller to be activated. So you see this long red ray is shooting out of the object, and if something is in between, it's firing. So at the moment it's not. So let's create another cube. So it has something to play with. Okay, it's not. Yeah, I made it to the wrong side. So let's see. It says if we have a collision and the ray hits something, it should jump. Oh, wonderful. Now it's pointing upwards, and so it's not hitting anything, so it stopped. So you see the ray is also working. You can change the axis here. X-ray mode is working, I guess. See through objects. I'm not sure. We have you have to find this out. Property is working, that's sure. Range is working. X-ray mode, I'm not 100% sure, but quite. Okay. Let's see. Radar sensor. It is implemented, but I don't know how to get it to work. And I guess try to use the near sensor, but the radar is more with this angle, but I don't know. I don't know how to get it to work. Random is actually just creating random numbers. Property will get a property. So let's see, we have here already one. Let's call it live. Make it an int and give it a value of 5. And we could say on every okay, this is more like an if. Let's go to the property actuator. Property. Here you could, for example, say on every time you hit the collision, you lose one life. So you can say add, choose a property live, and say you add the value -1. In order to see the property, you can check this print debug information and check properties here on performance. Now if you start, okay, the problem is it is overriding or on the same side like the output, but you see it's working. Also you can see it very good. So for example, we could say if we have property live is 0, so you have different equations here. We use equal, and if it's equal, we want the cube to vanish. For this you can use the edit object actuator, and say end object. With this actuator, add object is working, end object is working, replace mesh is not working, track to is working, and dynamics is also kind of working. But we use add end object now. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, and it's gone. Adios. Yeah, I won't go into detail here more. You have add object. You can select here one as a template, which will be used to to duplicate. The time is the lifetime. So if you say it's 100, then 100, I don't know if it's ticks or milliseconds later, it will vanish. You can give it an initial linear velocity or angular velocity. I guess this is more for like simulating bullets or something like this. Track to tracks to an object. So let's say we make use Suzanne and say she should always track the cube. Then we use our edit object, track to cube, and this is not working. I need to set this to 3D and this to do it always. Now it's working. Yeah, okay. It was just the 3D option. The axis, I don't know if they have an effect, and the time, I have no clue. Track to? Actually, does this make sense? I don't know. Duration, the new object lives, seems like an... no. I don't know. And don't care. So let's see, what do we have? So there is an action actuator to replay linear or actions. So for example, let's create another, for example, a sphere, set it here, and set an location rotation on frame 1 and a location rotation on frame 60 and location rotation here on frame 30. So we have now an animation of 60 frames where it is just going left and right. So in order to play this animation, you can just say always action. This always is just firing once and it can start any action. So we use here the sphere action, and we have to say the start time and the end time, which is 60. Force is, I guess, not mapped, add also not. This is actually something that would be nice. I will show you later. So if we now start play, you see that the animation played, but only once, because we have the animation type play. There is also loop AND, which would loop until an explicit AND command would come. Okay, blending is kind of working. Priority is something like if you have more than one animation, it is mapped, but I'm not sure how it really works with multiple animations. I would not recommend to use too many animations. It's not that stable. Child, I don't know if this is working. Neither do I know if this is doing something. So you see, I'm not using that much. I'm not using bricks at all. So it is just an overview for everyone who wants to use them. In my opinion, they are good to come to get something done very quick, but as soon as it's becoming a bit more complicated, you are lost very, very, very early, because there are so many bricks and it's hard to follow. Okay, this is this. Let's see, action we have. Camera is not implemented. Constraint, not implemented. Edit object we have already. Filter to the not implemented. Game is implemented. Let's see what we got here. What is implemented is only quit game and restart game. The rest not implemented. Screenshot shouldn't be a problem. And global dict, yeah, should be no problem to implement something like this, but I would say you should do something like this in Lua. Start game from file not implemented. Okay, let's go on. Game message is implemented. It is actually sending a message to the whole system. So for example, let's have another keyboard, and if we say if we press the 1 key, the subject 1 is called. And now we can use a message sensor to check if the subject 1 from a message is fired at the moment. So for example, we could say every time the subject 1 is fired, the animation should play. So I don't do anything. Now I press 1 and it is not working. Okay, I made a typo. I press 1. Now it's waiting again. I press 1 again. So you see, this seems to work. Here's a nice effect. You see the box is hanging in the air. This is because it is in sleep mode and we are moving a static object. So it's not taking into account that this object could actually move someday. So in order to make it work with the cube again, we could set this to no sleep. So now when we use our animation, it should fall down. and it's falling down, and now it's doing its job again. Okay. Okay, message, mouse. Mouse is not implemented as actuator, just as a sensor. Motion we have already. Parent is implemented. You can parent objects together and something like this. I'm not going into detail here. Property we have already. You can assign, add, copy a property, toggle a property, and level, I don't know if this is working. I'm not sure. And with the properties, there are only string, float, integer, and boolean implemented. Okay, to the next actuator. Random. This is this is set. You can set property a value. So for example, if we want a union int value from 0 to 100, we could say to do so. And just once at the beginning. So we see, oh no, it's doing it every time. You see, I'm not that good in this whole brick logic. Doesn't matter. So let's go on. Scene. Restart scene is basically the same with a game restart. Set scene, you can have multiple scenes. At the moment we have only one. You can set the camera, it's working, add overlay scene is working, add background scene is working, remove scene is working, suspend scene is working, and resume scene is also working. Steering is not implemented, sound is implemented. I'm not sure. When I tested this yesterday, you had to add the sound or you had to pack the sound with the file. I'm not sure if this is only for the bricks or if it is also for the Lua side. I have to check. But to get it work with the bricks, you had to add it or pack it with a file like this. File, external data, pack all into blend. I don't know how to pack only single objects. At least I don't know how to do it with a single sound. Okay, now state is working. You can set different states with like this, but as I said, if you use this, you are more likely lost than everything. Visibility is not set. Not implemented. Okay, this is it for the game bricks. I just can say I am not using them and will not support them that much. If there is something not working on the features that are implemented, I will try to fix it, but I won't implement features that are not implemented yet. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.